Like to call the regular November 13th meeting to order. Before we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, most of us know that two of our officers were hurt in the line of duty. Just want to say that we really appreciate the efforts we made. Sometimes we don't realize how dangerous a job this is. The officers are all doing as well as can be expected. So, just want to acknowledge their sacrifice for our community. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you want to call roll, please?
Shaw?
Here.
Clark?
Yeah.
Conan?
Here.
Adair?
Here.
Delkey?
Here.
Sleds?
Here.
Ballard?
Yep.
Everybody's had the opportunity to review the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve it, or if there's any changes, let me know.
I'd like to make a change because item D and item H kind of conflict with each other, so it would be better to get, maybe put item D at the tail end, because if you, based upon what item H is, if you decide not to do that, it makes item D very easy. So otherwise, it may bind up item H, we may not be able to do anything with it. So
You want to put the budget amendments after
tail end.
after this rainy day funds?
No, after the use of unrestricted village funds. Item H.
Okay, I
Just
guess
make that the last item.
Yeah.
are you in agreement with that as far as the budget amendments, your
That's fine.
treasurer? Okay. Are there any other changes? May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I'll move the agenda be accepted as amended.
Support.
Motion by Ballard, seconded by Slits. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Okay. Are there any citizens' comments? Okay. Moving on, we have no presentations. Administrative reports.
I'll give mine first.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Planning Commission, you have a pack, you should have a packet in front of you in the regular meeting for November 20th. One of the things that I just saw on there is a sketch plan at 73350 Floral Street for Tom's Auto Detail, so it's something new. I'm sure we'll look over and hopefully we'll do it.
What was that now?
Tom's Auto Detail
Yes?
on Floral Street,
Okay.
that's proposed.
Are there any other, anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, this is easy because I really don't have anything. Just again, thanks for listening to the presentation, thought it was important. There's nothing else really to provide beyond that.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
Things have been quiet down there. We pumped out a lot of sludge that'll probably be in the next F&B report. There's hauled out about 20 truckloads, so it should be good for the winter.
Okay, good.
Say normal course of business, right?
Chris?
Yep.
All right, a couple things. So,
Chris, I gotta congratulate you. I never thought you'd get Lathrop Street done.
never thought I'd get done. We got it done. So,
Good job.
a couple items on the punch list. One is actually only really one of them left, one and a half, is to remove the porta-john. And then there is a swale on one of the it came out a little hot, it will knock that down a bit. So with Diamond, and that's what I was just replying to now, so we should be good to go at that point. Next steps, though, is the grant monies we got is to get a kickoff meeting with the state. I've got Ann and now Michelle and Roe in line for sometime next, we're looking at Monday or Tuesday next week for that, so.
That's what I was gonna ask you, good going.
Yep, that's the next item. So-
Is that gonna be on the docket for next year to have those streets done, First Street and?
Yes,
Have to do it.
they have to.
Yeah, well, I
Great,
figured,
yeah.
but I just wonder if is that gonna be the year it's gonna be done? Okay.
Does that cover you, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
If I could
Joe-
ask, Chris,
oh.
that's gonna take precedence over any of the other stuff on that infrastructure report, right? Those two streets done, or at least we're gonna be first and second.
So it was meant to be the second and third, right? Because all three were together, so yes, and the rest of the CIP would act upon after that, yeah.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Now, the point though for Ross and Steve both is, and I'll share that info from Roe, is with the grant at this point in time, any other infrastructure for those same streets would be a time to do it.
Yeah.
Again, budget-wise, if we can match
We
it.
certainly gotta move on those, cause we got the grant for 'em.
Exactly. So it's a great, so anyway, Roe did compile estimates for that as we threw in the total picture, so.
Perfect,
So,
awesome.
You good?
good.
Okay, Joe?
I have the October police action report. Traffic tickets issued were 13, felonies failed to register as a sex offender, 1. Assist Armada Township Fire Department inside the village, 5. Assists other agencies, 7. Macomb County Sheriff in Armada Township. Suspicious situations, 5. Dog or animal complaints, 2. Lockout, 1. A death investigation, 1. And retail fraud, 1. Other fraud, 1. Motor vehicle accidents, 1. As of October 31st, the 2023 miles on patrol car 431 are $92,890. I'm sorry, miles. That's so loud.
Treasurer talking.
432 F-150 equals 30,588 miles. And 433, the unmarked Dodge, equals 63,594. The state of Michigan is requiring all police officers attend 8 hours of active shooter training by January 1st, 2025. 7 Armada officers had the training September 30th, 2023 at the Armada Middle School. Also in attendance was Memphis and Richmond officers. There will be another training day December 2nd, 2023 at the Richmond High School. The Macomb County Prosecutor is conducting legal update training at Richmond Police Department on November 9th, 2023. That already happened.
Okay.
Can I just add a couple things?
Yes, you may,
Um,
Chief. Rick?
The unregistered, we had a unregistered sex offender in the village. It was, lack of a better word, blowing up our phone. And we tracked him down. I got a felony warrant for him. He was taken into custody. He's in Macomb County Jail right now. So, and talked about the car. We ordered a year ago, we ordered a new hybrid. I have not heard anything later, so I don't know what's going on with the car. We got 93,000 miles. I'm almost at this point, we're just gonna run it to 110, 120,000 miles. Because I don't know what's going on with Ford, with the cars. They're not delivering the police hybrid, so. At this point, I just put some money in the front end, so it's still running good. So we just run it into the 120, 130,000.
You're saving us money, chief.
Yes.
And they're all well maintained, so I wouldn't say, hang on to that, or maybe hang on to it because it's not gonna work next year.
Yeah,
We take very, very good care of
we
our
take very good
cars.
care.
So I
Actually,
support you.
the new models, we have to buy all new. The cages don't fit, the lights don't fit because they all change it. So, we just may as well get the 120, 130,000 miles out of it. When I ran them when you were at Clinton, that's what we did, so.
They're not giving any, like free usage for electrical vehicles to try them out or anything, are they?
No, well, I haven't seen them that they're doing an all-electric police car. It's just a hybrid. But everybody's telling me they can't get deliveries. On the sheriff department, nobody can get deliveries. You can't get delivery of police vehicles on Fords anyway. I talked to somebody at Clinton, they couldn't get their cars, so they went to Chevy. So, we're in good shape for cars. It's running fine. Just put a little money on the front end. And they don't get run rough, so we'll just run 120, 100,000 miles. Maybe next year I'll order another car, so we'll get it in 2 years, who knows, but.
Good decision.
And I just want to add, on the officers, they got hurt, They're actually doing well for expected. The one officer went down 16 feet from the top of the stairs to the bottom. They were serving a mental commitment, and the guy came out. He's very big and very strong, and threw the officer down the stairs. So he crawled back up the stairs, and he ended up pepper spraying the suspect with the other guy. They called for help. The state police came. The state police put the taser light on the guy, the suspect, and he gave up. So, and the officer had the presence of mind to call me, and I was up here probably in 20 minutes. I got here when the suspect was still on the scene, so took care of what I had to do, went down to the hospital. So at this point, he's not gonna need surgery. They're gonna try physical therapy first. So he's got some broken bones, some spinal cracks, fractured nose, so.
Thank you for your efforts on
Thanks, Chief.
behalf of our officers.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of support I've had a lot of calls. There's some flowers out there, somebody sent, and a lot of support from the citizens wanting to do gift cards and stuff like that. They said, it's not necessary, I just let them know the phone calls are coming in, so.
Like I told you right from when we hired you, this is a community that loves their police
They do,
department.
they do. They
Our
want-
people do.
Yes, there's a lot of support, right?
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, I think that completes the administrative reports. So, can I have a motion on our consent agenda?
Mr. President, I will move that the agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. No old business, moving on to new business. We have a public hearing. So, we need a motion to go into public hearing.
A motion and with,
Like,
Do you want me to do a little presentation so they
before,
know?
yes.
Okay,
you wanna do that?
Yeah,
prior
do
to
that
going
first
in?
and then-
Thank you, Jeff.
okay, no problem. So, if I may, Mr. President, presented tonight is a proposed ordinance. It's been long in the making. I think it dates back to Chief Patrick, and Chief Meyerly is also waiting on this.
Yep.
And it deals with Article 7, which is entitled Business and Trades, and as you'll see in the agenda statement I provided, it provides regulations for everything from peddlers, solicitors, junk dealers, gasoline stations, pool rooms and bowling establishments, recreation, amusements and games, and vending machines and coin-operated machines. So some of this, if you went back to our ordinance book right now and looked when these came into effect, it was 43 years ago.
Very
These
outdated.
regulations, and the world obviously has changed and our made has changed considerably. So to say that this is ripe for a relook and possibly some amendments, it, I think is a little bit of an understatement. So with input from, as I said, at least 2 police chiefs and Michelle and Becky, we took a look at trying to streamline Article 7. And let me just kind of walk through how we are going to try to accomplish that. So the regulations for all those types of businesses and trades I described, it's mostly a licensing scheme. If you want to operate a gas station, you have to get a license. If you want to do a pool room and billiards, you have to get a license. So the real focus for Michelle and Becky was on peddlers and solicitors. So that was our first effort at updating. And the biggest change is originally peddlers, as defined, a peddler would be someone that would be going door to door, street to street to sell goods or wares, okay? And a solicitor would be someone that is going door to door, street to street, to take orders for goods and wares. What was missing in our current regulations is somebody going door to door, street to street for charitable or charitable, religious types of things, so, trying to raise funds.
They have veterans in here.
Yes, right. So what we did is we said, okay, let's rethink this. So what we did is redefine peddlers to include someone who's going door to door, street to street, to sell or take orders for us. So the peddler would be the person that's trying to sell goods and wares, either immediately, could be something on the truck, or they would do it by taking an order. So a window company or a roofer knock on your door and said, hey, your roof looks bad, we're in the neighborhood. But the key thing is they need to get a license to do that, okay? So that's the new definition of a peddler. Solicitors now is someone who is going door to door, street to street to try to raise funds or collect funds for charitable, religious, or political organizations. So that's kind of the regrouping that we did under this ordinance. And the way we did that was add a much more robust definition section. So a lot of the definitions, I won't go through every one, but you'll see a new definition for a peddler and what does it mean to engage in peddling, and a new definition for solicitor, and what is a solicitor, and what does it mean to solicit. So those definitions exist. Under the ordinance, a license for a peddler or a solicitor is still required. So they must come in and file an application with Michelle and Becky. And under the new ordinance, that will be reviewed by the clerk and the chief of police, because we do run background checks. So both will need to approve the application. If the application is approved, Michelle has the ability, if there is a violation, and I'll touch on what those violations may be, but Michelle has the ability to suspend the license up to 90 days. So if someone violates the ordinance, Michelle, with input from the chief of police, because PD's likely the one to get the call that there's a violation, Michelle can then suspend it subject to an appeal. In these ordinances, you always got to give an appeal right, and that would be to the village president to handle the appeal. Now,
And
revocation.
that's only me as clerk, that's not me in perpetuity, just.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't say Michelle.
It does not say my name.
Right. Now, in terms of revocation is obviously taking the license and revoking it. That would be under the council. So council would hold a hearing, hear evidence from the clerk and the chief, what happened, and the council would make a decision whether to revoke it. So there's due process once the license granted, there is due process for either suspending or revoking the license. So what can a peddler not do? What would be a violation? So I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go through every one of the violations, but I think it's important to at least let you know. So if the homeowner says, I don't want you on my property, please leave, and they don't, that would be prohibited conduct. Entering the premises of private property to peddle or solicit when the owner has a sign that says no peddling, no soliciting, no trespassing. They have to honor that, okay? This is a key one. Peddling or soliciting with the village prior to 10 a.m. or after 8 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. Now you may say, well, Jeff, why sunset? Well, the courts ruled that municipalities couldn't arbitrarily select the time. So there was an ordinance that said like 6 o'clock, and they justified that by, the threat to the public due to darkness. Well, the court said, well, that doesn't really make sense. So that's where the sunset provision came in.
I like the sunset.
So that one we kind of had to do. This one's interesting, peddling or soliciting within the village on days when the annual Armada Fair is ongoing or any national holiday. So Michelle brought to my attention, and I did see this in other municipal ordinances, when there's so much going on in the neighborhoods and so much traffic and things like that, we felt that council would not want people peddling, soliciting door to door. You may draw people like that into the village, so we want to make sure that that's off limits to protect our residential areas. Let me see if there's any other one. Those are under section 71.7. There's 10 prohibited. Threatening, harassing, or committing any other, criminal offense are grounds to suspend or
Lying on their application.
Lying on their
If they say
application.
they don't have a criminal history and then we find out
Right.
they do.
Right. So that's kind of the prohibited conduct. I want to make sure you're aware of this, so I want to bring it to your attention. The license will last for a duration of 180 calendar days. So you may wonder, why did you pick that? Some make the license for a year. Michelle and I and Becky felt that was a little too long. 6 months, warm weather. If you want to, solicit or peddle in that period of time, great. but we felt 6 months or 180 calendars was a good intermediate time. The old ordinance had what, Michelle, daily or
We had
once a
daily,
day?
weekly, monthly,
Yeah.
or yearly.
And we felt that that's just creating an administrative burden, doing background checks that frequently.
Well, this started because
Yeah.
we had, the costs were so low.
Right,
They were ridiculously low,
right.
and we couldn't change that without changing the ordinance. Well, the ordinance has so much stuff that was outdated
Right.
that we thought, now's the time to do it. So we'll just have one fee for that 6
Yeah.
months.
And that leads to a really good point. One of the things Michelle and Becky were asking for is, we can't have these fees set by ordinance because
No.
they need to change.
No,
Our
and
costs
you have
of,
to have public hearing.
yeah, our costs of processing background checks could go up or,
Right.
So this allows us under the order to set it by resolution. We'll have that for you at the time of adoption
Will
in
be the first
December.
meeting in December.
We're recommending you guys bring this back in December, and we'll have that resolution, you can see what the fees look like, but we wanted to make sure you were comfortable with all the changes first.
So that would probably be as needed then, it wouldn't be something that you do at the start of the fiscal year?
It can be.
I
You
guess you
could
could,
be,
yeah.
we could reevaluate depending on, if police, get a bump in pay and they're, that's gonna cost us more than for the background check, so.
I've got a question. I mean, it doesn't sound like this is instant. Somebody comes into the office, I want to get a license.
No, we have to run
It's
this,
gonna be a couple of weeks out
yep.
after they do the.
I would say, just to comfortably say, I'd say 2 weeks, but it more than likely would be faster than that, but
Okay.
depending on how many people, I don't wanna say any specific name, but there's one organization that comes through every year, and they have like 40 people listed, it could be any one of these people that come to your place, so that's a lot, that's a lot for them to check. Boy, I didn't think about, well, we'll talk about that later,
Yeah.
okay.
So just so the residents know, they will have a license issued, it'll have their picture, they'll have to display it, they'll have to wear a lanyard with their license on, it's gotta be visibly displayed, so person knocking on the door, you know that the village has authorized them to go door to door. A couple of exemptions I wanted to bring, one we're carrying forward, that's military veterans who are licensed by the state. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the state allows veterans to get certain license to peddle goods and services. So we're exempting them because the state's obviously preempted us on that. And then, this is one that we saw in some other ordinances that relate to person under 18 years of age, so a minor, engaged in soliciting within 1 mile of their residence, so it's someone local, 18, a young underage, for a school, charitable, religious, or organization. So if they're selling candy bars, if they're selling soccer tickets, for their team.
Girl Scout.
Girl Scouts. Right.
Don't banish them.
So we tried to make this a little bit user friendly. They will not have to come in and apply.
Right.
Now again, are we gonna be able to tell that the person's within 1 mile? Probably not, but for the most part, as long as it's a minor that's doing the right thing,
Yeah.
we're probably gonna be okay. So that's kind of the regulatory scheme. Now, what we are eliminating, and this is again with Becky and Michelle, and as well as the chief, we are getting out of the business of regulating pool halls.
Coin operated
Yeah.
machines,
So
vending machines.
so I just want to say, we're eliminating all those. Now, again, you may say, well, why are you recommending it? We're not saying that they're exempt from zoning, we're not saying that we are not gonna regulate them on other regulations that we have. We're just not making them come in to get licensed.
Right. 'Cause that would be,
I will tell you, other cities do regulate, the arcade games inside of businesses, like where they would be playing, Miss Pac-Man and things like that. They'll actually license those. And other games of chance. Now, the reason they do that a lot of times is the fear that sometimes those machines can be converted into gambling. We've checked with the chief. He does not think that that's an at-risk here. If it becomes a risk, regulatory ordinances, we can bring it back. But to be honest, to keep these on the books, are we gonna really, if a gas station comes in, are we really gonna license them outside of zoning and things like that. I mean, the chances are probably not. We'll rely on, like any other business. I mean, these businesses were singled out. And you can see a theme in these. These were things where we thought kids would go, you know, or they would be abused by kids. Like, I don't know, I have not seen a cigarette vending machine, gosh, in probably 20.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
I think you're,
It's an antique
Lyle, I think
now.
there probably is one out there
Yeah,
somewhere.
probably in the upper
Okay.
peninsula.
Right, yeah. But my point is, you know, we don't need that on the books anymore. We're not gonna license them. So try to streamline it, get some of the, you know, update it. So I'll open it up to, well, let's do the public hearing and then I'll leave it to council at the conclusion to ask.
Again, when we open the public hearing, the purpose of that is for the public to ask
For us.
questions if you have any questions. So could I have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Okay.
Motion.
So to enter into public hearing at what time?
At 8.
7:26.
7:26, there.
You need a support for that?
We tell back.
Yep,
Support.
yep, motion by Adair, support by Shaw. All in favor of the motion?
No, we
Oh,
don't.
roll call.
Adair,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yes.
Sledds,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Baylor.
Yes.
Okay, now the floor is open to the public. If anybody has any questions.
Okay, motion's approved. Do we have any questions from the public on this ordinance? Go ahead.
Would you prefer I stand or just when I'm sitting?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? I was looking through the ordinance. Does the ordinance cover residents circulating petitions in the community? And does it cover people dropping off political literature?
No,
Okay.
because they're not asking for, now, let me put it this way, if they're doing that and saying, would you like to contribute to my campaign, yes, then they would need to be licensed.
Mhm.
But going door to door to drop off campaign literature, no.
Just wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
they
because
don't have
that's
to
a little
come in
vague
with
on
it.
that.
Good question.
Yeah, no, the definition, I don't think it's vague, because I think the definition is pretty clear, you have to be soliciting money. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it did define the soliciting in the ordinance when I was reading it. That's
Yeah.
the reason why I was asking if it counted circulating a petition throughout the community or somebody just dropping up
A handbill.
political
or-
literature.
No, you can do that without a license, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well, if there's no other questions, could I have a motion to go on to the public hearing?
Make a motion that we move out of public hearing at 7:28.
Support.
Okay, motion by Belkey, supported by Shaw, to go out of the public hearing.
Oh, you just call.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Okay, now, is there any discussion by council? Okay,
So I just want to say the suggested action in your packet does reference November 27th, but Michelle is not, I won't be at that meeting obviously, but Michelle will not either. So we're recommending maybe putting in language, and I know we have something to change the date of that meeting, so maybe we should say the first regular meeting in December.
Okay.
And that would probably work instead of November 27th.
can I get a motion to approve this ordinance?
Gotta read it.
What's what?
Yeah, it's on, the motion's written out.
Yeah.
12/11,
Well, I think
12/11.
Yeah,
We're-
just first regular meeting in
I would
December.
Yeah, you don't.
make a motion to authorize the village clerk to finalize the ordinance amending Title 7, entitled Business and Trades, Chapter 71 through and including Chapter 78 of the Village Code of Ordinance for consideration at the first regular public meeting
Just
Village
meeting in
meeting.
December.
in December, along with a resolution establishing a new licensing fee schedule.
Support.
Motion by Belkey, supported by Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Good work.
Moving on.
it only took 43 years, Rob.
Yeah. Been a long time.
Plan for the future.
You make that sound like it's a long time. Now, we're,
Change the date.
looking to change the regular council meeting of December 11th to December 12th. Is there any objection to that? Would like to, somebody like to make a motion?
Mr. President, I'll move to change the regular council meeting date of December 11th, 2023 to December 12th, 2023, and direct clerk to post.
Support. Give it to.
Okay, motion by Ballard, supported by Slim. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed?
Opposed? I'm sorry,
Yes.
one opposed. Okay,
Video scheduling contract, sir.
Gotcha.
moving on then. Okay,
This is, you want me to explain it?
yeah, the correction to previous motion from October 27th, 2023.
Okay, so everything that I needed to change in the motion that I provided you guys last time is in capital letters, so you guys can just see what was added to this to make it a little more clear.
Okay.
But we need.
We need to rescind the motion from October 27th in its entirety and then make it this way.
So I move that we resolve to rescind the motion adopted at the regular council meeting of October
Oh,
27th.
no, Sleds has to do it and Ballard has to second.
Oh, okay, I went the other way around.
No,
too.
he doesn't, even though they made it?
Any council member that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead, Mike.
Michael.
I know you cut me off,
I did.
but I'm gonna say it anyway.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
We resolve to rescind the motion adopted at the regular council meeting of October 27th, 2023 to hire Thomas Phillips in its entirety.
Support.
Okay, motion by Shaw, supported by Slims. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, now, the new motion, you wanna take that, Chris?
I sure do. Well, Mr. President, I take the motion to authorize the Village of Armada to extend an offer of employment to Thomas Vilas, originally made October 27, 2023, at the base hourly rate of $19 per hour with overtime comp time, clothing allowance, workers' comp, and liability insurance benefits comparable to those provided to current full-time DPW employees. Eligible for medical, dental, disability, and life insurance after 90 days of full-time employment, personal and sick time, and holiday pay upon successful completion of the probationary period. Background and medical examinations are waived as Vilas has already completed them for his part-time employment. Continued employment is contingent upon Vilas completing a 6-month probationary period beginning on the first day of his full-time status, after which an employment agreement may be offered. Vilas is required to obtain a CDL within the 6-month probationary period to continue employment, after which time his rate of pay will increase to $20 per hour.
Support.
Motion by Sled, supported by Shaw. We should have a,
Do roll call?
because there's
You can do a
money
roll
involved,
call.
we'll do a roll call on this.
I do just want to explain that, when we did it before, it was like it was a 90-day or something because he's been here.
Yeah.
But, in the past, we had made somebody from part-time to full-time and it was a 6-month wait. So we have to stay consistent. I didn't realize that at the last meeting.
So if
No worries.
we offer him a full-time position,
We already have, he's already got it.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's not gonna fall under the contracts that we're doing right now.
No,
Will
No.
we open a contract for him?
we'll
Yeah.
have to create a new contract.
Yeah, you have to create a contract, but you'll also then just make it expire with the other
6 months,
employees.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right,
okay. Sleds,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes,
Uh,
Clark,
Yes.
Delphi,
Yes.
Adair. Thank you, that just makes it clearer.
okay, motion's approved. Item D has been moved, as our last item tonight, after item H. So, Moving on to item E, computer purchase for the police department. Joe?
This is something that Chief has been looking to put into the department for, some more technology into the department, as he has, other officers that are interested in getting involved in that. So,
STI, yeah, that's STI.
yep, and like FBI will have some.
Oh, whoops, forget Suds and Ballard.
That's the
Go
same.
ahead.
That's all right,
You guys already took care of it.
That's what you
Yeah.
want, it's already been taken care
Alright.
of, Joe, it's all set.
Okay, so I would resolve to accept the quote from Dell Technologies in the not to exceed amount of $1,141.12 for the Armada Police Department. This expense will be paid for with STI funds.
Support.
Question.
Yes,
Will this come out of our salvage title,
yes.
Paid for. that's-
paid for by salvage title money?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that makes it even better. So, we still need a
Yep.
roll call on this.
Adair,
Yes,
Clark,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes,
Conan,
Yes.
Suds.
Yes.
Hold on a second. 3, 4, 5. Sorry. Delkey,
Yes.
Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Motion's approved. Okay, moving on to, Ross, I think this might be your item. Establish a capital improvement plan for the general fund.
Okay, this is just more of an awareness item. You might recall, I brought this up 6 months, 7 months ago. Council was not ready to move forward at that time. We've since had a conversation with the auditor by the phone, and when Curtis was in here a month ago, I think it was, he did in his audit report recommend that we establish a capital improvement plan. In this case, I think he just said capital improvement plan. I would suggest what needs one is the general fund. I mean, I have a list of items that I think I need for water. I suspect Steve does, I suspect Chris does, but, and we see different pieces of stuff.
Wouldn't some of those come under the 5-year plan you're supposed to do for
Well, they
the
could.
water department?
I would certainly include it.
And, you know,
Yeah, I would certainly.
that would
include
not come under the, it should be done though, but it wouldn't be under the general fund, it would be under the,
Well, it's just that that's the piece I think is somewhat missing. I mean, I think Joe's probably got information on the police department. We know they need cars. We know they're talking about radios. Dave Wagner puts in his report items that, he needs a salt dome, a dump truck, and so on.
but I agree, we do need a capital improvement
Yeah.
program from all departments.
Yeah, in talking to Ann, she said that that's her intention to do that, pull that together when we do the FY '24-25 budget planning, so just making
And I
a
knew you
mention
were
of it. I think
working
that's
on
an
that.
appropriate way
I've
to go.
also asked Dave for that,
Okay. Yeah,
for the DPW.
and I just bring it up because, as you've indicated, commissioner reports are not a good time to talk about that stuff, so I kinda gotta stick it in the regular
Yeah.
agenda.
No, that's good, Russ.
Mr. President?
Yes.
It is my intent, so all of you know, that when we meet individually this year for the budget workshop, you know, last year was my first year and I was just trying to feel my way through. But this year, I do want you to come prepared with your detailed budget for the following year, and then a wish list for capital improvement for at least 4 years out. So we have a 5-year plan of, here are our major expenditures, here's what we're looking at we may need. But we don't
And just
wanna
like
do that
I'm-
just on the general
I'm gonna bring it
fund.
up to.
right.
We
that's
wanna
your
do
cover.
that
Each
on
individual.
all
I wanna put it
funds
in next
across
year.
the board.
Yeah.
Hey, you
So
guys- I'll
each
put it
of
in,
you need
guys
to
approve.
come with that in mind.
Right,
I can't speak for
About
anybody else.
$40,000.
and general fund's not going, it doesn't have a unrestricted fund.
Right.
So it can't just arbitrarily say, okay, I don't have enough in my budget now to cover this, so we're gonna take it out of general fund, that's just not. the way-
No, that's not the intention, or is that the way to use,
No,
monies that are in the general?
I agree with Ross, though, we do need to have you know, as best we can, a capital improvement plan,
We've been working on that
and we
since
should, you know,
January.
all the departments should be trying to look 5 years down the road. When we come this year to budget time, though, don't come in with some long wish list, you know, I mean, you know, we have to be realistic with what we're doing and how we're spending our money.
Well, it should be broken down, like Joe, in your case, you're looking at the police.
Police cars.
You know,
Yeah.
how many years out will they need another vehicle?
Right.
And then after
Yeah.
that,
Right.
what other equipment might they need?
Radios.
We know the
Yeah.
radio system is changing,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be coming up, those kind of things. In your case, if there's other things for the water treatment plant or whatever that you need,
You know, and
you
then,
can project that we were gonna get another 3 years of life out of this, but then we're gonna have to replace it.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things we need to be looking at.
And those are the way, that's the method to make it realistic.
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
And just a reminder to everybody, because I've seen this happen before, even though we put something in the budget, it doesn't mean that at the time of that expenditure, we don't review it again.
Right.
And I've had, you know, I've seen over the years, say, well, hey, we put it in the budget, we can do it. No, it's still gotta be approved, again, we've gotta spend our money judiciously. Okay, I think that covers that. Now, is item G yours, Ross?
It is.
Yeah,
This, you wanna
Yeah.
establish a,
yeah, so this is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, a philosophy, you said.
Yeah, again, this is the second part of really what Curtis had talked about when he was doing his audit report is, we do have an unrestricted fund balance, and we, I think the president has indicated he feels strongly in a rainy day fund. I certainly endorse that. You need money for an economic downturn or for emergencies. So in terms of a philosophy, why are you keeping what you keep? So when Curtis looked at 2019, we just happened to be at the median of all villages across the state of Michigan, which was about 81%. Median's the midpoint, right? It was just dumb luck that we happened to be there. We didn't have a philosophy to get us there. You know, and he said you don't lowball, and you use the expected revenues as your basis. So I think 100% of our expected annual revenues is probably a good place to place a target. A target is not locking us into anything, but it's an objective to shoot for. But as Curtis also said, we have 154% of the annual revenues, expected revenues. So what I would really recommend to council is that we establish a philosophy for why we keep what we keep, and make it a target. And then anything beyond that, and I think we're gonna need to use it for First Street and Simons, we're gonna have to dip into some of that to pay for some of these improvements.
Jeff, wouldn't this be more
Well, it
like
may
a
be
policy
possible to loan to
rather
your,
than a
the
motion?
departments. I don't want you to misrepresent right now, we're not saying that the general fund is gonna pay for those.
No, I wouldn't say it
But,
either. I'm
I
just-
would.
So,
Let Jeff,
If you,
let Jeff answer the question.
oh, I didn't hear the question.
I'm sorry, I was talking to your phone.
I don't think Gabe heard the question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I just
did.
asked him, I said, wouldn't this be more like a policy rather than a motion?
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess, I understand where Ross is going, I just don't, I'm a little concerned about the timing of it, because to me, what you're trying to do is really fundamental to the budget. How much, every year we're gonna decide how much of the general fund, as you indicated, the balance we're gonna use to fund the expenditures. So I don't know if this is intended to be like binding on the council, or, you know what I mean?
No, not
You know,
really.
but I think, I just almost feel like at the budget time, that is really where this is really relevant. And I think what you're trying to anticipate is like coming into the next budget cycle, we may have to look to use the general fund to fund certain things. But I think that, to me, that's probably a decision coming into the budget versus right now, because this, a snapshot in time, you know, like right now, it might be okay, but, you know, come, you know, when you guys do your workshops in January, February, it's probably the time to have this, this discussion.
I mean, I would be happy with that. I think it's just incumbent upon us to have a reason why we hold back what we hold back, rather than just let it happen and accrue. I mean, when you get to 300%, 400%, somebody's gonna come in here and say, why aren't you spending it?
First
or
of all,
giving us a
I
tax
don't know where
rebate?
you're coming up with 300% and 400%.
I said
That's
if you don't-
extremely misleading.
If you don't do anything, it could, the township is getting hit because they've got a large balance.
That's
And
because they
they're not
don't have
doing it.
anything to spend money on.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I don't
They
care
have a
why it
different
is,
department.
I'm concerned about us, I'm just saying, and I'm perfectly happy to go with Jeff is saying, if it's more appropriate during the budget time, I'm just saying
Well, I think
that the auditor has suggested that we have a philosophy, we don't currently have a philosophy, but if that's a better time to do it, and he has said that it should be based upon expected revenues for the year,
which
and
we'll have.
you just set a target, we're gonna keep 100% for rainy day, and then other monies beyond that are accessible for other things.
I
rather
think you
than-
have to explain what rainy day means, though.
Well,
I
and
mean, I
you
worry
also
about
gotta
that
look
term.
into if this isn't contrary to any of the bond covenants that's set up. What your guidelines are for how much you have to set aside to make sure that in the future you have bond payments available.
That's fine, I mean, whatever, and so, given that, maybe it's better than that we do a little bit of investigation. One of our bonds is gonna get paid up here, within the next 6 months or so we'll have two, and I would say, okay, I'll withdraw this, but let's do a
And
philosophy.
depending on what projects you got going, you know, we could have another one.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
could,
and
but-
that's a very good point.
But the
That-
bond's
didn't-
not
we didn't
coming
have
out
a
of the
reason-
general fund.
I just want to say one other thing, because I like where you're going, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I think when you go through this exercise of doing a 5-year capital plan, I think what you're gonna find, Ross, is that, yes, you have maybe 154% of projected revenues, but when you do a 5-year plan, and you know that in year 2, you're gonna need to buy that.
For a large capital
That's
improvement.
right, so
Yes.
that's why I'm kind of saying, let's get all the data on the table, and I'm projecting, I think it's what frustrates you, I don't mean to speak for you, but I think what frustrates you is that without the multi-year viewpoint, you're not prepared when those expenditures. But I would kind of maybe turn that a little bit and say, well, that's the reason that you can't make that decision now. Let's see what the 5-year looks like, because, yeah, 154 sounds great, but if we have a huge capital expenditure, you're gonna want that 154%, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's,
some of
it'll all come together, but.
Yes, but even then, I'll just make the comment,
Yep.
even then, you're not gonna give all of that away to the project, you're gonna wanna keep something for potential economic downturn or whatever. So you have to have an idea. But I certainly understand the point, and that is probably a more appropriate time to figure out what it's gonna be when you do the budgeting, so.
We have kind of a unique situation that really some of our, what you would refer to as unrestricted, I would call fund balance or rainy day fund. Some of it is really restricted because the salvage title, we can't just use it for anything. That does come under general fund.
Yeah,
Well, that's a huge-
Well,
that's a big part of the.
So anyhow,
I got you.
you're not gonna make a motion, or
No,
are you going to?
I'll
Bring it
pull it.
back. He'll bring it back.
Before you move on,
Yeah, well, go ahead,
just
Ann.
a couple of things about it too. I know Ross has put in here that he wants to keep 100% of revenue, but I
Just a
believe
suggestion.
that you need to keep, when we've talked and I've throwing out the 100% number, it's of your expenses. You need to be able to fund the village for at least a year. If something happened and all of our revenue dried up, you still have to run the police department, you still have to run the DPW,
Yep.
you still have to maintain this office
That's
to
right.
keep the bills paid and do all of that.
That's right.
So you need to maintain enough money to get you through at least a year to figure out what do we do? How do we
We've
go
looked at this for
forward?
a long, long time, and Dave's one of the
Yes.
biggest proponents of how much money you should save for what length of period ahead should
Right.
something happen, and you've gotta depend on what you gotta do.
We had that
Exactly.
discussion many
Exactly.
times over the
Many
years.
Because we don't know, and they continue to talk about the housing market's gonna drop and the value of the homes are gonna go down, which means our tax base goes down. So we're not collecting.
Some people may not realize, we don't get as much property tax as we did in 2008.
Right.
right.
Because
So
we can
not
only
Because the
increase-
values dropped
Yeah.
and your taxable value could only go up because of the Headley Amendment, a certain amount each year.
5%, no more than 5% a year.
So,
I
okay,
think we're all in violent agreement.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that, and just that Curtis suggested that it be based upon revenues, not expenditures. It can be on whatever we want, I'm just looking for a philosophy, so it's clear, it's distinct, everybody understands it. I don't think it's a bad management tool to have out there.
Well, the other
No, and that was
thing
our
too,
logic with, when we, back, I know when Nancy was here, when we started the 5-year plans, the capital improvement plans. So, but it's hard to do because there's so many unknowns.
right,
And it's
Exactly.
like 2008 cropping up on us,
Yeah.
and house values dropping, but
Right.
expenditures were still there.
And government
entering into a
regulation.
DDA
And then,
with projections of a 2% increase every year, and
Yeah.
then not bringing in the money, so the general fund has to pick it up.
Yeah.
right,
Can't put all your faith into projections.
exactly.
but it's not an accident that we have the fund balance we have.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on to G. Oh, wait. So we
It's
just
the
did that.
second to last one.
It's just,
So
He's
we're
just-
moving on
no
to
motion,
H.
He's just gonna bring it back.
Use of unrestricted funds to pay for the infrastructure.
so this is discussion of monies that are dedicated to items in the general fund versus the additional revenue that we have, which we're loosely calling rainy day funds, fund balance, unrestricted funds, I don't know, give it your own name. I just wanna point out that when we approved the preliminary design engineering effort that we're now working on, in the write-up that I provided, I did put in as a final comment, and that's the second page, that the council approves the effort, I recommend it be paid through the use of unassigned general funds, as we had talked about previously in council. Council hadn't agreed on it. And I didn't put it in there because it hadn't really been discussed, and so I didn't want to get the cart before the horse. We did make the motion, we did approve Rowe for the 21,000?
21.5.
Yeah, something like that. And we didn't put that in there. And so the time, and we mentioned it at the last meeting, the time to do it, to bring it back potentially was now. Now, Ann's budget amendments, if that's not made, debit water, sewer, streets for the cost of that effort. Again, that was an unexpected effort. As Ann said, you should plan your budget out. It was unexpected we were gonna do that. So it just, it could be paid for out of the general fund as an unexpected item, but one that we felt was critical to move forward on, because if we didn't do the work, of course, we've had now a grant award, which kind of gets in the middle of all that, but if we hadn't done that work, we would have really been set back another year. We wouldn't have had anything to discuss. Again, we didn't know we were gonna get a grant award. So we would have been 2 years down the road before we could have done anything with the streets and the infrastructure plan. The real point that I'm making is that it's an unexpected cost now to the three of us, It just impacts me in my current budget, and makes it potentially tough for me to get all the things done this year that I need to get done, because that money is unexpectedly coming out now. It's about $7,100, $7,166, I think is my share, my cut. So, what I'm asking to do is have that paid for out of the general fund. Because we didn't kick the can down the road, we did the right thing, we moved forward on it, we all said we're gonna do it. But now I feel like I'm being somewhat punished for us doing the good deed, because it's now coming out of this current budget when I hadn't expected it. So.
Did you have a motion?
I do.
Can I just?
Well,
let her just-
let them
Yeah,
make the
make my motion
motion,
and then-
and then,
Otherwise, discussion.
then you could have the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my motion is to direct the treasurer to restore the funds expended to date for the infrastructure PDE effort from the street, water, and sewer budgets, and to pay for this initiative with unrestricted general funds. Or, again, use the word that you want, out of
It's unrestricted.
fund balance in
general
the
fund.
general funds, whatever word you want to use.
Okay, motion by Belkey. Is there a second?
More discussion?
Well, discussion will come after the second.
After the support.
Support.
So,
Sleds or Shaw?
now, to me, we discussed this once before,
We did.
but go ahead,
We
Ann.
did, and I think from an auditor standpoint, you need to take the funds from what it specifically applies to, and that's streets, water, and sewer. If you run into a problem where you don't have enough money then to get through the year, then general can certainly make a loan to cover those expenses. But from an auditing standpoint, I would think the auditor is gonna look at it and say, well, why did you take it from general when it applied to streets, water, and sewer?
Is there any other comments?
I agree with that.
I agree, Sam.
Okay, you wanna take a roll call on this?
Belkey?
Uh,
I'm sorry, you made the motion, so you
No,
get called.
no,
you
I
get
get
called
it, I
first.
get it.
I'm not doing this to be mean, I'm
The
just.
wheels, the rusty wheels are turning, so, so a little bit of discussion before we take the vote.
Okay, well, go.
Is Anna's, the item that we moved to the end is her budget amendments, which in fact do codify taking that money. But you're taking it this year,
Yeah.
not next year,
It's
right?
an
So
expenditure this year.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I may not have the money I need to do all the things I need to do in water. It's an unexpected expense now over what I had planned.
Right,
So-
because we didn't put it in the budget.
Okay, well,
It wasn't
because,
expected.
again, nobody expected it to happen this quickly, and council all agreed that, yes, we should do it now, even though nobody really planned for it. So it was a council decision, it wasn't my decision.
Right.
Council agreed it was prudent to do it this year and not kick the can down the road for a couple of years. So the issue that I'm having a hard time with is just that, the budget amendment is gonna require the money to come out.
You don't want to come out of water.
Well,
Or sewer or
but
streets, he's just not.
if
talking
we're gonna
about this.
consider it a loan, and I don't have to, and I can pay it back next year, then this would be a moot point.
Well, you
Just
don't know
don't-
where you're gonna be. I mean, you gotta wait till you get
I'm
closer.
trying to
the
manage
end of
the
year.
things that I had planned to do, and this was unexpected, as you've pointed out, unexpected to these guys too. I'm not keeping track of their fund balances. For me, it's a potential issue. So as long as it could potentially be, not potentially, as long as it could be considered a loan, and I don't have to pay it back this year, we'll just pay it back next.
Well, it's just like the other loan.
Right, which I fully expect to pay back, but we hadn't talked about that being a loan and paying it next year. This to be a loan to pay back next year. I think your intention is to go ahead and just decrement as these invoices come in this year, which is the intention.
Right, we've already started, we've already made a payment.
I know you have, that's where I saw it.
Is there any other discussion here?
If we decide that it can't come out of the grant, that you guys are splitting up,
No,
think so.
it can't come out of
Yeah,
that.
that's-
It's not- it's not
That's
separate.
a particular
It's a
street.
separate item, and that's gonna hit next year,
Yeah.
where, we're all gonna have to watch what we're spending, because we're gonna have to pay for any, at least water and sewer infrastructure repairs while Chris does the street.
So we do have a motion on the floor. You wanna call the roll, please?
I'm gonna rescind the motion as long as we can consider it as a loan to be
Well,
paid
it's,
back next
it-
year.
I'm not saying it's a loan right now. I'm saying when you get into a position
He just
where
rescind
you
his
need
motion.
money
Draw it.
from the general fund to
Withdraw
get
it.
through the rest
Do
of
we
the
have to
year.
have,
It doesn't mean if you
No.
can't
No,
adjust your
the maker of the
spending
motion can
to make
withdraw
it
it.
work.
well, he can withdraw.
I've got things I need to do this year.
so you're withdrawing your
I'm
motion?
gonna withdraw it, because,
Okay.
as a loan makes sense to me.
Okay, well, that's good.
And
Move.
Mike doesn't have to agree to that?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just asked Jeff that very question. So now we're gonna move on to,
Budget amendments.
D, and the
Well,
D.
H, it's
Oh.
fine.
It's H now.
It doesn't matter, it's
Yeah.
fine, it doesn't matter.
The old.
Yeah, we're now on to the budget amendments, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Ann, you wanna take that, please?
Well, I went through, as you can see, there ended up being a few more than I anticipated. We've gone through and added in the things that were unexpected that came up, like the heating and cooling system here in the building. We've added the road project. I'm sure all of you have noticed in my reasons for a lot of these, you'll see additional DPW employee. That was one of the reasons I was trying to get us to hold off to the next budget year. But it doesn't just cover the $19 an hour that when you hire someone, you have to take in consideration all these other things, the social security, the health insurance, a lot of things that it affects. So I just wanted to point those out to you. That other, on the sewer fund, you'll see, Steve, the work they did in the park that ran over, that we hadn't budgeted for that, so I had to put that in there. We did do some transfer from other funds in water to cover, we had to increase that from your 150 to 163. And I think most of the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. On the vehicle repair under STI, the truck tires and the Explorer calibers and that, I will point out that some of the work that the chief had done on the car, a few weeks later, he got a recall notice, and he was able to go back to the dealer, and we got a check today to reimburse us for some of that.
Good.
The cabinet for the gas, that was another thing we hadn't put in there. And I would just like to point out, while we're talking about the budget changes, I had made copies, but I didn't hand them out to you. But this is from the Michigan Department of Treasury Budget Manual. Curtis had sent this to me, and I just want to point out that in that, when they talk about amending the budget, it says, the amendment must be approved by the legislative body prior to the expenditure being made. So it's not a requirement of the Budget Act, but also, not only a requirement of the Budget Act, but also a requirement of sound budgeting theory. The purpose of a budget is not only to approve expenditures, but also to control your expenditures. So going forward, when we anticipate an expense that wasn't put into the budget, we need to bring that amendment first before we approve doing that. So if we can try to get into the habit of doing that, because that's what the budget manual says we should be doing.
And if I could just jump in, one way to handle it is, if you bring a purchasing item to the council and it's not in the budget, you have to, so in other words, resolve to purchase, but then you need another motion that says, and to amend the budget,
Right.
to pay for this through general fund or whatever the other funding sources. So
Exactly.
you don't need to make the amendment, I know you weren't probably saying that, but you don't have to
Right, they
make the
could be
amendment
done at the
first.
same
You can just
meeting.
bring it at the same
Right.
time. So
Right.
it's pretty easy if you bring a purchasing item and it's not budgeted, you have to propose to amend the budget, that's how you fund it.
Right.
No, we're not making the budget amendments.
And why are these all going down?
I'm just concerned where you get a situation, you're working on a water line and something goes south and now you're buying extra piping or extra valve.
That's an
Right, those
emergency
are
purchase.
You're not gonna,
Those are
Emergency purchase, so we've got
situation.
that covered under the purchase.
that's what I,
Right.
okay,
Yep.
as long as we're,
Right,
otherwise.
The other way to look at it though, Ross, is you should, things happen, so you probably should
Should
budget.
have extra
You
money.
should budget some money for.
We try, but, yeah.
But it's true, I mean, like.
Lot of
It's hard,
things
I know it's
Storm
hard.
and things.
Again, that's why you have your fund balance.
right.
Why are these going down? And I
Uh,
thought these
because
budget
the money-
amendments would be going up.
No, because you're taking money from the account.
Right.
So it's gonna make it go to, your fund balance is gonna go down.
Your fund balance goes down.
Oh, okay, I see. I'm sorry, I
It's
see.
like your checking account.
So,
Your check, it's gonna
Will we have a motion on these budget amendments?
Mr. President, I'll resolve to approve the attached budget amendments as presented, which brings the total estimated fund balance for the local street fund from $6,797.60 to $6,424.60. Major street fund from $142,889.84 to $135,529.84. Municipal street fund from $145,001.60 to $100,001.60. The sewer fund from $105,029.60 to $85,131.60. The water fund from $7,271.15 to $2,246.15. The general fund from $756,956.17 to $714,251.17. And STI from $0 to $3,093.67.
Support.
Wow.
That was a lot, like, you mean.
That's a lot.
I know.
So,
You got all the numbers right.
I like that.
okay, we can just take a roll call, on that, or not a roll call, but a general vote.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
If you guys want a roll call, you can ask. for one.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
You want a roll call, Harry?
Rather than roll call.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Okay,
Expenditures,
sure,
so just pay the guideline.
okay.
Ballard,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Conan,
Yeah, yes.
Adair,
Barely, barely.
Spirit body, not,
Pelkey,
Yes.
Sluds,
Yes.
and Slack Happy.
Okay, now, upcoming agenda items. Any citizen comments? Council comments?
I have a question, I hope I'm not stirring up something, but they said these 10 additional letters went out regarding cars parked on the grass.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too.
Okay. What are we gonna do?
That's all gonna change.
Pardon?
That's all gonna change. Were we looking at that?
We are reviewing the ordinance on cars parked in yards.
So that's in planning commission's hands now.
Because the way it is right now, you couldn't park during the fair. You got people who have no parking in front of their house, they may need to. Sometimes somebody sells a car, they might put it there. So anyhow, we're revisiting that ordinance.
That's including the front yard thing, or is that stupid, that's with the planning commission?
Planning commission will probably work out something to where it will exclude the front yard.
All right, the reason I say that is our late, one of our agreements is predicated upon that change.
One of our agreements, I mean,
The agreement for the Lathrop Street extension is on the fact that there's no parking in the front yard. So that's gonna change?
No, that,
No.
that will be the exclusion.
We're gonna
The-
review
the
Okay.
The
parking
planning
of
commission
that,
is
yeah.
looking at that in the
Gotcha.
zoning
Yeah.
ordinance.
So that-
There's gonna be times, I think there's times people need to be able to park in their front yard. You know, I don't think the whole town's gonna be doing it, but sometimes certain people have that reason. I think if I was selling a car, you know, which I have, you know, a couple times,
Right,
I did, you
and
know,
they never enforce cars that are for sale,
know.
unless it's a car that's been there for 10 years.
We gotta-
Not selling it.
Never-
yeah,
We've never enforced it
we're not,
until
I don't
recently
wanna
anyways.
stop people from parking cars for the Armada Fair, for instance.
That'd be something else.
You know, so anyhow, that's being looked at.
Okay.
I have a question, and I'm asking this of all of council. Does anybody know where our Welcome to Armada sign went? It's missing.
Which one?
The one by the nursing home,
Yeah.
What's me?
from the, ACTA, that whole wood
Did we
sign
look
is
in the
missing.
ditch or anything like that?
Well, I know, and I asked Dave this because they took a tree down, because a tree had
Right.
fallen on it. And I asked him if he took the sign, he didn't, it's gone.
He didn't give you an answer?
He wasn't sure. So, but it's gone. I mean, you know, I know Ross and I have talked in the past, I think I probably talked to Steve about it too, that, you know, we've gotta, you know, I'd like to see these things get revamped or whatever, but, I mean, it's just missing. So I was hoping really that one of you took it and was going home and
I've got it
rehabbing
in my
it.
garage, I'm fixing it.
I'm just checking. So I'm just asking, I will ask Dave again. It's been a while, but I just went by it again yesterday. And every time I see it, I'm like, what the heck happened to the sign? I forget to bring it up.
All right.
So, all right.
Some of the ones that are up are looking a little tired.
They need at least paint. And I don't disagree, but we have that whole easement thing too, so. Okay,
Are there any other council comments? Okay, community events.
happy Thanksgiving.
Well, we'll do that next week, won't we?
I won't be here. No, it's after. Thanksgiving's next week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Well,
That's
23rd.
all-
happy
that's all
Thanksgiving.
that I'm-
Yeah.
23rd.
So, yeah, maybe the 27th, so.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no closed sessions, so I'd entertain a motion.
The time is
13.
8:13 p.m. I move to adjourn.
Support.
Got all kind of support.
Motion by Ballard,
Support.
supported by,
Put the horse.
take your choice.
I've already got that.
Okay,
Who is it?
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved.